you pretty smart?
Absolutely not.
As much as we talk about great video games, there's so much crap that gets shoveled at us, like day in, day out.
The topic of worst video game comes up a lot, and there's some games that just always come up in that discussion.
When I think worst game ever, I think Shaq Fu is up there. Shaquille O'Neal always, everything he manages to touch turns to crap, and Shaq Fu didn't fail.
First of all, the idea of like 7 foot, 300 some odd pound Shaquille O'Neal being a kung fu master, maybe not the best idea.
It's sort of a mix between Moonwalker and Mortal Kombat. Kids are disappearing, Shaq's gonna go rescue them, so he fights ninjas and martial artists and monsters.
It's really pretty bad. Also, the cover of Shaq Fu is just like Shaq in one of his classic, like, really serious poses.
All the good kung fu karate-based games that were out there, Shaq Fu didn't have any of that. All the good basketball-based games that were out there, Shaq Fu didn't have any of that. So it really failed on 2 levels.
Shaq Fu gets a bad rap, but I'll tell you, man.
He was, I mean, Shaq, at that time in his career, Shaq was blazing. I mean, he had just made Kazam.
Shaq has starred in terrible movies, recorded a terrible rap album, and starred in a terrible video game. That's a trifecta. 3 for 3, right there.
Revolution X. Apparently, at some point in the future, our fascist government overlords are going to decide that Aerosmith is what's wrong with this country. They kidnap the aging rock band, and it's up to you to rescue them through the power of music.
Yeah, Aerosmith is kidnapped, and for some reason, you want to reverse that process. It's not a whole lot of fun.
Aerosmith, of course, lends itself to a game about revolutionaries kidnapping them. Can you imagine the political turmoil that would result from the kidnapping of, you know, the drummer from Aerosmith and the lengths our government would go to get him back? They would probably send out 2, maybe 3 mercenaries with CD launching machine guns.
I never understood what about a rock band is supposed to equate to video game action for me, and Revolution X did not help illuminate that understanding at all.
Wake up! The revolution has begun! Generation X is in effect!
It's so, just like disingenuous, like tying like Aerosmith, this just triple sold out band, and like making it like it's a revolution. We're fighting the man with Aerosmith. We're gonna eat the rich together.
Extreme Paint Brawl, I think is technically, like, statistically the worst game ever. It got the worst review by IGN. I think it got 0.2. So as far as critics are concerned, it is the worst game ever.
Everything that could be wrong for a shooter game was wrong for this game. Like really poor physics, terrible targeting, like slow frame rate. It just kind of chugged along. It was ugly and it didn't care who knew it.
Not only that, Extreme Paint Brawl was shipped with no AI, which basically means you start the level and there's all your teammates standing behind you, and you go forward, like, okay, let's go get these guys, and they stay there.
This represents that subgenre of terrible games that, like, I mean, just were made with no artistic integrity behind it. Someone was just like, make the game, put it out. We'll sell it for $10 at Walmart. Confused grandmothers will buy them for disappointed children. And that's what happened.
And I don't see the point of making a paintball video game. I mean, the whole reason paintball exists is because you want to go out with some guns and shoot your friends in a relatively safe manner. That's what paintball's for.
Whereas, that's already what video games are, so why make one simulating paintball? When you can do it with real guns, which are cooler.
Daikatana, which was a follow-up to Doom, also one of the worst games ever and one of the worst letdowns ever.
John Romero's was kind of a video game superstar. He helped create Doom, which is obviously a gigantic game. So everyone was kind of waiting to see what his next big masterpiece is gonna be.
So there was a lot of hype and a lot of excitement, and Romero himself was really feeding the hype machine on this one.
The whole industry is waiting with bated breath to see this game. Daikatana. Let's push back another year. Damn, Daikatana. Let's push back another year. Like, the game took forever to come out.
Meanwhile, Duke Nukem 3D comes out, Shadow Warriors comes out. All these other great first-person shooters are still coming out. I think, well, where's Daikatana, the pinnacle of first-person shooters? And just keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And then Daikatana finally is released, and we play it, and we think, wow, this would have been great 10 years ago.
It was a time-traveling samurai game Totally uninteresting, nowhere as good as Doom, failed awfully.
But yeah, now John Romero's making cell phone games. Good riddance. He screwed up.
But it's more the worst game ever because of the whole hype behind it and the dashed hopes and dreams of us gamers. Bad, John Romero. Bad.
I love the Guy game, even though it's one of the worst games ever, because they took everything we love about Girls Gone Wild, which is girls and going wild, and they put it into a game where you have to kind of answer trivia questions or give yes or no answers, kind of like on Hollywood Squares. And if you get it right, well, the girl takes off a piece of her clothing.
On the original Star Trek, what was Mr. Spock's job?
It's like, have you ever watched the Girls Gone Wild DVD and been like, this is good, but if only there was some kind of terrible trivia game hosted by a loud, obnoxious jackass I could play in between scenes, then the Guy game might be for you.
At first, I thought the Guy game was the greatest idea I ever heard. Rewarding people for learning facts about their country and their culture, rewarding them with shots. Then I realized, man, you had to know a lot of stuff to get those.
Even as they take off everything, there's a black bar so you can't see anything. And I'm sure by the time you answer all the questions and she lifts the bar, it's like, it's probably pretty anticlimactic.
What do you do in Nebraska?
I go to school and have sex.
The Guy game is worse than a Flash game you'd play online. And if you can get Flash games online, you can certainly find nudity. So the game really had no reason to exist.
Of course, it turns out that one of the girls in the game was actually underage, so they had to pull the original version off the market and try to edit her out of it. I, of course, still have my original copy shrink-wrapped, and someday I'm going to make a fortune on eBay with that thing.
Game over!
So the Guy game franchise, unfortunately, died prematurely. Which is a shame, because I really want to see where that was going.
We'll help your cousin with that.
Yeah, it's about time.
I'm sorry it didn't dawn on me.
Yeah, I'll dawn on you if you don't get on the ball.
I'm sorry.
Night Trap is the worst game ever. As creative as it was, it's just horrible execution on a horrible system.
And it's kind of representative of a whole subgenre of full-motion video games. What they do is they make games based around movies. You could film movies, put that in the game, and then it's almost a choose-your-own-adventure.
You with me, Control? We're going in.
There's Dana Plato. It's got real video of her. It's got her as a sexy co-ed pillow fighting with other co-eds. They're pillow fighting until blood-sucking vampires come and destroy them.
Blood-sucking vampires would go throughout this house and you watch them on little spy cameras and try and set off kooky traps to kick them out the house and save these girls.
Very, very strange game. Not a very good comeback for Dana Plato.
Who would have thought out of her, Todd Bridges, and Gary Coleman, we'd come to consider Gary Coleman kind of the winner out of that group?
Yeah, I mean, it had all the acting quality of like a low-budget softcore pornog.
Night Trap is probably the poster boy for bad full-motion video games because it's also really sleazy and it attracted a lot of negative attention to video games in general. All sorts of upset parents would be like, video games are bad, Night Trap's ruining children, and no one even wants to play this terrible game. It's not even representative of video games as a whole. So not only is it a bad game, but it even managed to draw negative attention to video games in general, which makes it a really special kind of bad.